Hey guys, welcome back to the Slipstream, the podcast where we keep you up to speed on everything about motorsport. I'm Ash.
I'm Trey.
I'm Sachin.
And today we have a bit of a longer episode because we have two topics to cover: NASCAR's Daytona 500 and the end of preseason Formula One.
And listen, we could rant on about this for hours on end, but we primarily want to talk about the history of the Daytona 500 and some of the highlights from this year's race, and also F1 preseason car runs in Bahrain and a couple of driver dramas.
And there were a lot of birthdays in the paddock as well, but first let's start with the world of NASCAR. Take it away, Trey.
All right, so the Daytona 500, obviously Daytona Beach, Florida hosts this very prestigious race, but it began in 1953 as a 4.1-mile oval race that ran mostly along the beach and along the neighboring highway, so kind of near the boardwalk, and the cars were much different back then.
Yeah, the axles were very unsteady, and the chassis wasn't made of alloy or carbon fiber as it is now. Basically, all the little elements you see in today's generation of stock cars simply just didn't exist back then.
I mean, the only thing that I can think about is how hard it must have been for these drivers, specifically in the Daytona 500, to just keep it on the sand and not veer off into the sea. I know that it sounds like very rude to say that, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, you got that right, though. But it actually turned out to be a success because the owner of NASCAR at the time, Bill France Sr., managed to sign a contract that allowed county officials in Daytona Beach to build the drivers a real racetrack.
Yeah, and there's been a Daytona 500 race every single year on the NASCAR calendar since 1959. So the circuit obviously gets repaired every now and then, but it's been on the same 2.5-mile oval track for 7 decades.
And honestly, this could have been a huge bust for not only the world of NASCAR, but the world of stock car racing. Like, had this not been a complete and total success like it is, we wouldn't have congruent races in Florida and some of the neighboring states in the different series like Xfinity and Craftsman Truck, But a lot of fans supported the idea at first of having a race kind of like this in this format, and there was a very big economic bust in the 1970s that brought in a lot of cash flow and a lot of innovations such as merchandise, sponsorships, branding, and putting logos on the sides of the cars in motorsport.
And obviously we have some notable winners of these races, or champions that are the winners of these Daytona 500 races, like Richard Petty, who had a 17-year gap between his first and last win, and Bill Elliott, who achieved the highest speed ever recorded at Daytona of 176 miles per hour.
That's pretty fast by stock car standards. I mean, and the gap was between, I think, 1964 and 1981, so it's not really common for drivers to stay in the league for 15 years or more, but we obviously have a couple of back-to-back winners. I mean, we have Jeff Gordon, who rivaled Dale Earnhardt Sr. when he was racing in the 1980s and 90s, and we also have, most recently, William Byron, who won back-to-back in 2024 and 2025, and we should probably all reflect upon maybe the surprise win of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. back in 2023.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. has been a pretty big name in motorsports since 2023 because of that surprising victory.
Yeah, I can vividly remember it like it was yesterday. I really didn't have anything to do, and I tuned into NASCAR every now and then, but this is the first race that I think I watched in full. And obviously, you know, you had some pretty big front runners like Christopher Bell and Chris Briscoe. Feels like people with the name Chris can do well in NASCAR. But yeah, I mean, Kyle Busch was also kind of hanging in there with the big guys, and so were William Byron. But then there were a lot of collisions, and then I think it was with 15 laps to go, a huge collision with Danny Suarez and another driver that brought out the caution. And then with about 2 laps to go, there was a huge collision involving William Byron, Kyle Busch, and about 15 other guys, and Ricky Stenhouse Jr. managed to navigate his way through it like Lightning McQueen in the opening scene of Cars,
Yes.
and he took the victory by just 1 lap, which it's very, very impressive. Not as impressive as the one we're going to talk about, but yeah, I mean, still very, impressive as of right now,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, there have been impressive moments in NASCAR, but also devastating moments in NASCAR, which I think, Sachin, you can break that down for us.
Yeah, so one of the more devastating topics to mention, though, is Dale Earnhardt Sr. and his death at the Daytona 500 back in 2001. So we'll just give you a brief rundown on that.
Yeah, so in the race, we're going to give you a race rundown. So it was, I believe, the final few laps of the race. He was pretty close to at least getting a third place finish in the closing stages until it was around the last lap that Sterling Marlin tapped the rear of his car like ever so slightly, and it sent him into a spin, and usually these spins wouldn't be too deadly, but it was just at the end of the main straightaway, so he slewed hood first into the wall at well over 140 miles per hour, well over about 35 Gs, and he sustained a head and a neck injury because I don't think they really had the hands-like device.
Not back then, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
And yeah, he unfortunately died moments after his car stopped on the scene in front of the crowd. Even the commentators knew something was wrong, and you could hear like the emotion in their voices.
Yeah, I forgot the name of his. I forgot the name of the main commentator back then, but he was like choking up and saying like, "I hope Dale's okay. I know something's wrong." And it was literally hours later that they gave the press conference, and they confirmed his passing at around the time that the car stopped. So,
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty tragic affair indeed. I mean, like, when I first heard about it, like, when I first got into this stuff, and, like, I was like, dang, I hope this guy's okay. I really don't want there to be casualty, but that just didn't turn out to be the case.
I think the worst part about it is that he was racing with his son, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah.
This was the first father-son duo in not NASCAR history, but the first father-son duo to race at the Daytona 500 in NASCAR history.
Yeah.
And it ended like that.
Yeah, but let's not try to mope so much because we got to get into
of
this
course,
year's
Let's
year's
do
Daytona
it.
500 and the surprises that it brings us. So that includes a team that usually underperforms at this race, taking a last corner victory.
And Trey, I'm pretty sure that you said you had an indirect connection with this team. Do you know?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that later.
Yeah. But we're all interested in hearing about it, of course. But first thing we need to cover is a piece that we found a few days back. So can you break that down for us, Trey?
Oh yeah, that's right. So you guys know how Jimmy Johnson? Do you know the name Jimmy Johnson, by the way?
Of course.
Everybody knows the name Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson's stock car career, including NASCAR, has been very long but very successful over, I think, 30 years.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Well, next year's Daytona 500 will be his last ever Daytona 500, as said in a Reuters article.
Yeah, that's unfortunately correct. The reason behind this choice was to focus on building his organization in the Legacy World Club, which is a Cup Series racing team based in Statesville, North Carolina.
I mean, it's completely understandable. He's in his 50s. He's won a total of 7 NASCAR Cups, accumulated 83 wins, and left a mark on the motorsport like no other.
So he's pretty much Michael Schumacher's, I don't know, stock car disciple or something like that. But yeah, in all seriousness, hell of a dude. Built up a great reputation for himself, and he's making bank.
Oh, yeah, of course. And 30 years in the sport is, more than enough time to make that big lasting impact. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he said you said a total of 7 NASCAR Cups. So
correct.
Let me just throw this out there. Is he who the guys down at Pixar based Lightning McQueen off of? They base him off of like a Jimmy Johnson-like character?
Probably. Maybe it's like some kind of like biographical animated movie.
Yeah,
at
maybe
this point,
biographical.
It's just so similar.
Yeah, Jimmy Johnson may have had, I don't know, just kind of like this huge turn in his life or something like that. Maybe Lightning McQueen kind of encompasses that. Who knows? But
for
actually,
sure.
I've seen some behind the scenes of, Cars 1's development. I think one of the creators, and take this with a grain of salt, of course, I think one of the creators kind of said they did have some elements of Jimmy Johnson in mind when writing McQueen's characterizations. So, Yeah, it's safe to say that he has quite the lasting legacy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But yeah, looking at qualifying for the Daytona 500, we saw that history was made by Kyle Busch. He took pole position at this race for the first time in his 15-year Cup Series career.
And look, I may have been a fan of Kyle Busch as a kid. I'm not much of a fan of him now, and he may be on a downfall, but come on, you got to respect him for this. I mean, pole position at the Daytona 500 is no easy feat whatsoever. It can be taken away by 0.002 seconds.
Especially considering some of the big guys like Christopher Bell, Ryan Blaney, and William Byron, and they didn't even qualify in the top 10.
But the funniest thing about the qualifying season is Noah Gragson, and Trey here considers him the Romanian Grosjean of stock cars if all he did was spin and slide.
I did.
Yeah, well, Racing America had some things to say about that.
Yeah, because Racing America's told us he got his lap time revoked because he placed his left hand over the window net during his run for an aerodynamic advantage.
And this goes against the rules in NASCAR because not only does it give the drivers an advantage, as you said, but I guess it also poses a danger to yourself if you been into the car.
Yeah, if you
the wall.
Yeah. No, and if you also bend it into another car.
Another car,
yes,
yeah, of course.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, NASCAR rules are, I will admit, a little less tedious and a little more straightforward than the FIA's rules for F1, Formula E, and FIA and F1 Academy. But, yeah, placing your arm or any part of your hand, even your finger, just onto the window of the car, it feels like common sense not to do that because, again, you could bend it into the wall and you could lose control of your arm based on where the aerodynamic force pushes, and then bam, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's gone.
You basically suffer the same fate as Mick Scoresby from Avatar.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, let's get into the big Sunday race, and I have quite a few good sources from my friend Wilson. I will attach his YouTube channel down in the description below. He does a lot of commentary talks on not just motorsport, but sports in general, and I'll also share a couple of links of his as well, you know. But, yeah, kick us off, Ash.
Yeah, so basically the first big incident was 5 laps into stage 1 when BJ McLeod tried going around the outside of Tyler Reddick. But in a weird way, he inadvertently spun himself off. So Justin Allgaier and William Byron were caught up in the crash as well.
Yeah, and it was pretty smooth sailing after the caution flag ended, and it wasn't until the opening laps of stage 2 where both of the Legacy Motor Club teammates were caught up in a bit of a pit lane incident. So John Hunter Nemechek locked up into the rear of Eric Jones and just tapped him into the pit lane because they were going for the double pit stop. But something could have happened to the mechanics. They easily could have hit them and the ones behind, and the pit lanes are so congested. So.
Yeah. And if you thought that was a pretty scary scenario, get a load of this. Austin Dillon, Ty Gibbs, and one of the front runners in Chris Briscoe got caught up in a multi-car collision on lap 20 of stage 2 by a left-hand straightaway, but something would happen roughly 40 laps later.
Oh yeah, this was like pure pandemonium. So just as Allgaier recovered back up to 3rd place and went for the lead on the outside, he caused a 20-car wreckage and pileup. So obviously it was a caution until the late end of the stage.
Yeah, and Bubba Wallace actually took that stage victory. And think about it, Bubba Wallace, I'm not saying that he doesn't perform well, but he has been on the tail end and kind of the appendix of the 2311 team. You know, Tyler Reddick seems to show him up pretty much every day on the track, so, you know, like, good for him. But, I mean, you know, stage 3, it would have pretty much no action, just front runners like Michael McDowell, Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Chris Briscoe, trading places here and there as per usual.
Yeah, but just with 9 laps to go, Denny Hamlin, who was running in the midfield, gets tagged into the wall, damages his front right tire, and now is out of the race.
And on the final freaking lap, no, not even the final lap, the final straightaway before the finish line, 100 meters before the finish line, Carson Hocevar, Hocevar, I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly, he had the race win right in his hands. He swept around the outside of Tyler Reddick pretty well, but he swerved into the wall and took himself out, and oh my God, he threw away the race pretty much all on his own.
Yeah, it was just like a crazy oversteer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, what a missed opportunity. But it gets even worse for the other front runners. Joey Logano and Michael McDowell react instinctively and take themselves out as well. Like,
And there's more to
There
this.
is
all
more.
right?
Oh, yeah, there's
We're not
way
done
more.
yet. So
Coming your way.
Chase Elliott and Tyler Reddick were going for the first literal photo finish at the Daytona 500 since its inaugural race. But Elliott got into a multi-car crash just meters, not even 100 meters before the finish line.
And with that, Tyler Reddick won his first ever Daytona 500 race. And as Tyler Reddick said, he said it's one of those things that every young boy who aspires to be a race car driver sees and they want to win it. He won it.
And he just did that. And honestly, this piece of information from ESPN makes this win even more cathartic and heartwarming for Reddick. It says, winless last year, Reddick was primarily focused on his infant son, who was found to have a tumor in his chest that affected his heart.
Yeah, honestly, I hope he uses that win to inspire and to teach his son about the great things that can be achieved in this life. And I mean, if they believe in God, then the grace of God will guide them along the way. And being a father and a racer, honestly, at the same time, is no easy feat. Father and athlete, period. Parent and athlete, all parents. Reddick does make it look like a cakewalk with this victory, though.
yeah, though you did say something to say about the 23 XI team and Tyler Reddick himself.
Yes, so
Yeah.
do you have your phone with you right now?
Yes, I do.
So I
actually.
sent Sacha a couple of attachments.
Yes. Yes, you did.
I have an indirect connection with the team because I designed one of their liveries. So it was a part of this summer program back at my high school in Charlotte, and it was actually under my principal, who I kind of consider a mentor as well. He got me and a couple of other classmates of mine involved in this creative kind of like art program and this kind of marketing program to help out the 2311 team for the Bank of America Roval 400 in October of 2023. So this was not quite yet. This was the concept design. I'm going to show it on the screen in the podcast. This is the concept design that we came up with. We wanted to make it like Charlotte Hornets style, represent the Queen City, and because they had to stick to the NASCAR regulations at the time, which still uphold, it had to be all one color symmetrically. And this was the final design.
Oh, wow. That's pretty sick. That looks really cool.
Yeah, and this is like the full, here's I guess like a video of the full car itself.
Dang. Yep. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. I'll do some edits so I can show them the full video.
Yeah, but well, with the NASCAR stuff out of the way, let's dive into Formula One. Now, before we begin to wrap up the preseason window of Formula One, we want to wish the following drivers in the paddock a very happy birthday.
All right. So, first things first, happy birthday to Pierre Gasly, a.k.a. the Gasman, who just turned the big 30 on February 7th. So, he's ultra status. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so he's already accomplished a lot. AlphaTauri is the first and only win in 2020, carrying Alpine on his back and being the most successful French driver on the grid since Romain Grosjean in the early 2010s.
And a happy 24th birthday to our Kiwi fella, Liam Lawson, as of February 11th. He and his family have obviously sacrificed a whole lot to get to the big leagues, including selling their childhood home. They've gotten to, a massive amount of debt, which I hope he's helped them pay off. And they've probably missed out on some of his past birthdays just so that he could push and dedicate himself to get into the big leagues. So I hope he honestly got to make that up by partying hard.
And finally, George Russell, a.k.a. Osama bin Russell, who turned 28 on February 15th. So we wish him a happy birthday as well. But, according to social media, he's actually 40, if you get the reference. But basically...
yes, that interview with the
there
the
was
kid.
a little interview where him and Kimmy were asking these kids questions, and this one little girl was like, "Oh, are you 40?"
No, I think that's what he said to Kimmy.
Yeah.
Now, think about if he said this to George Russell, he would probably lash out with unnecessary anger and violence. Let's
but that is an elite reference. But anyway, back to the first dramatic piece we need to address is that what many people consider Lewis Hamilton's off-track accident. He is in a relationship with Kim Kardashian, or allegedly. That's not been confirmed by Lewis Hamilton himself yet, but those are the rumors, and he's not denying it at all. So, and he has been spotted many times with Kim Kardashian at sporting events. So I completely believe it to be true.
Yeah, we're talking. So just to make sure, we're talking about the Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
The Kim Kardashian.
Kim
all right.
Kardashian, yes.
Well, let's go over what some sources have had to say. I think one of these sources said that she's excited about their romantic connection and he makes her feel safe and she genuinely enjoys spending time with him.
Yeah, and the Landing Gossip blog makes a critical point. How are the editors of F1 Drive to Survive going to avoid making their docu-series about Kim? I mean, we need to know how dramatic F1 DTS already is.
Oh.
I mean, like, we know how dramatic it already
absolutely.
is.
And there's like too many edits, too many of this, too many of that. So they absolutely need to navigate their way around that. And Kim, on top of that, is just going to make things tougher to get around. And I don't know if I'm overstepping my bounds here, but I feel like it's going to be a bit of a bad influence if they put Kim in it too much on incoming fans or people who want to get involved in F1 sport. But yeah, I mean, what do you guys think about it?
Well, I mean, you're not completely wrong, but there are other means that people can become a part of motorsport fan bases, so it's not all completely down the drain.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that Kim Kardashian may bring about like a new fan base to Formula One in general. But, I'm not going to hate on Lewis Hamilton. And he actually is a big, he's very fond of veganism and, staying politically sound. So, and he just says love is love. So I'm not going to judge him for dating like a big actress.
And they've been,
not an actress, a big time model. But, it was kind of a shock. That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm not one to judge. And on that note, let's talk about Kimi Antonelli's little scare that I will judge actually. He got into a minor car accident in San Marino, this micro country inside western Italy, and he ran his collector's GT car into a guardrail going, I think it was 140. In a 70 zone.
Double the speed limit.
Double the speed limit.
Let me just say, he was lucky. He was so lucky to only get minor injuries from this accident because who knows, if he didn't have a seatbelt on, out.
For sure.
And let me just say, I don't know about his road license situation. I don't know if he's faced any legal repercussions from it, but we do know that he was obviously cleared to take part in preseason testing.
Yes, of course. I do think that this kind of road accident was in as a result of him and his breakup with his girlfriend.
What?
Oh,
he broke up?
Crap.
No.
So yeah, this road accident actually happened, I think a week after it was released to the public that he broke up with his girlfriend. So I was talking about my friend. I was talking to my friend about this, and I was speculating that this was probably like something related to that. But that's just speculation, of course. And we shouldn't be too tough on him because he was just speeding, and it could have been well worse if someone else was involved, and could happen to anyone. But I'm just glad it wasn't like Lance Stroll's bike accident in the Alps just 3 years back.
Oh yeah, that's right. If you remember correctly, I think it was about 2-3 weeks before preseason testing.
Yeah.
That he was riding his bike, I think, in a very small Swiss town, and he got hit by a car.
Yeah.
And he sustained a broken wrist and a near broken ankle, and his leg and his body was just kind of like all sore and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that was very well covered in the Drive to Survive season for that year.
And he finished P6 on a broken wrist.
Oh yeah. So pretty dramatized in the show, but it was still, Now, the first day of preseason testing showed us that Lando Norris isn't afraid to take reins as the new champion. He finished with the fastest time, with Max Verstappen just trailing behind him by a tenth of a second.
But there was quite a bit of a surprise with the results. So Nico Hülkenberg finished 9th fastest for the rebranded Audi team, and Esteban Ocon for Haas finished in the top 4, just under a second behind Norris. So they've already reminded fans how much potential they have.
They have. But that potential was kind of lacking in Cadillac. Both Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas finished 14th and 16th. Again, it's just testing, so maybe they'll shock us in the the season opener in Australia, but for now, they need to improve.
Yes, I kind of expected this just for preseason testing with any new team. It does happen that way. So I'm not surprised by that. And another thing I'm not really surprised by was Colapinto's lack of speed. So even though Behrman, Lawson, Alonso, and Hadjar didn't get any on-track action, Colapinto still finished last of the finishers with over 5.5 seconds to Lando. Which 5.5 seconds might not seem that much.
What
but
a joke.
Yeah, but in terms of racing, 5.5 seconds is a very big gap time.
And Stroll finished second to last, but I would still trust him more than
over Colapinto.
Yeah, just still second to last over Colapinto, but I would still trust him more.
Yeah, but at least the Reddit forums were funny. Users commented stuff like Alonso and Honda curse, Aston.
Yeah, A-double-S ton. So
Ton.
Yeah, more Aston. More like Aston of BS.
Yeah, but Aston Martin's long-run performance under Honda has been, inconsistent and very up and down, because there have been many memes about Honda's engine, or at least Honda's make and model, and its design being very prime, amazing for Aston Martin. But when it comes to Alonso, it's just the deep pits of hell that it
this is what I will say.
Very I don't know. It's just against Alonso, they have some kind of beef or something, because Honda just keeps creating these whack cars for Alonso, their engine, I mean.
And let me just say this. It's going to get very specific, but it's going to make sense. If I had a nickel for every time Alonso joined a team in which they got their engines from Honda the year after, from McLaren, he went to McLaren in 2015 when they just got with Honda. The year before they were with Mercedes. He's staying with Aston Martin in 2026. They're now with Honda. They were with Mercedes. If I had a nickel for every time that happened, I would have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice.
Oh my God.
Sorry it took me so long to say that, but
No.
I just had to.
Yeah, and honestly, let's give Audi a round of applause. Hülkenberg and Bortoleto both finished in the top 10. But here's the best surprise of it all. Drum roll. I need a little
Drum roll, please.
Yeah. Hadjar finished in the top 5. I'm telling y'all, Hadjar is my favorite rookie. Well, at least from last year. Hadjar is my favorite rookie for a reason, and this is why. So I know this may trigger some people, but he's going to be in a much cleaner environment with Helmut Marko gone back to his cottage.
Whatever Austrian cottage with his goats and his banjo and whatever. Okay, that may be a little bit racist. I'm sorry about that.
Helmut Marko just needed to go. He brought so much toxicity to this environment.
Oh no, remember that one time when he, I think, said something about Checo, and I think he was hinting at his race. I forgot. It was sometime in 2022, and I just thought to myself, this guy is out of his depth. He needs to shut his mouth before I duct tape it.
Yeah, Helmut Marko has actually said quite a bit of Checo throughout the years, especially since 2022, but I've been hearing just Checo slander from him for 2022, 23, 24. We're in 26, and Checo still gets some low blows from Helmut Marko. Well, not anymore, at least, because he's gone. But that's that era's gone. I'm glad.
Yeah, but anyway, let's move on to day 2 of preseason testing, and it was finally a good day for Charles Leclerc. No, that happened. Anyway, he took the fastest time with over a half a second gap over reigning champion Lando Norris.
Yeah, but before we get into Charles Leclerc, Hamilton and Verstappen did not complete any rounds this time around, and they would impress the next and final day. But, let's first talk about the Mercedes controversy that not only gave them a 2019 Ferrari-like advantage, if you know that era, but has encouraged all of these teams' bosses to basically slam them down.
And I will start us off with that. So teams like Audi and Ferrari and the Honda manufacturing facility, don't know why they're having to say in this their engines are going to suck. They believe the engine design to be controversial because it, let's see here. So they believe that the maximum size of the ventilation system located right in front of the powertrain of their car is just a little bit too out of the dimensions, and they believe that's going to give them a powertrain advantage in the long run.
Yeah, and ESPN stated the following, that the FIA will vote on a mid-season ban for controversial engine design, believed to have been pioneered by Mercedes for the upcoming 2026 season. So this jeopardizes Mercedes' championship contending chances in the late season if they either don't file an appeal or if the situation doesn't die down.
Yeah, especially considering they got to make their appeal now before they reach the Hungarian Grand Prix. And remember that
The Hungarian,
yeah, is where Mercedes succeeded the most in the turbo hybrid era from 2022 to 2025.
Now, if you're still confused about what exactly this all means and the reason behind this mix-up, let me quote what BBC Sport said. So the current rules state that the maximum compression ratio of 16:1 is to be measured at ambient conditions, but Mercedes claimed to have found a way to exceed these dimensions when the engine is running at temperature.
And so, yeah, basically Mercedes are trying to find these loopholes that the FIA isn't prepared to, strike or to, cut points off of.
Honestly, I think that this is a very smart move by Mercedes because no matter how long, no matter how extensive the FIA wants to make their rule book, Mercedes is a smart enough and intelligent enough and a very in-depth team that they will always find some way to get past that. And think about it, they are very big business, big economics, big everything. So it is hypothetically impossible to slam them down this hard and take away their championship contending chances like this.
I definitely agree. And let's not forget that Mercedes in Formula One at least, has some of the best engineers that the sport has ever seen. Other teams might have faster cars, but I truly am a big fan of Aston Martin and Mercedes engineers. But we still got to discuss Mercedes because they finished 1-2 on day 3 of the first test. Okay, George Russell led Kimi Antonelli with a quarter of a second between the two, and Lewis Hamilton followed behind in third place by another quarter of a second.
Which I personally find very impressive for this 19-something-year-old kid in his sophomore year of F1. Yeah. I mean, he really, really lucked out by being part of this clean, accepting, dominant, awesome number 1 Mercedes environment and academy.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, you Silver Arrows Glacier.
Hey, come on. What's the big deal?
No, definitely not glazing at all. I totally agree. But anyways, Russell would follow up on this on the first day of the second test as of yesterday by setting the fastest time again. So this time it was Leclerc, as you were talking about, who would give Ferrari the third fastest time, and Antonelli lagged behind by 0.7 of a second.
And just two things that I want to note here. One, Verstappen was literally the only driver to not get any on-track action. He didn't race once on there. But two, both Cadillac's drivers finished in dead last. You remember that episode we made about Cadillac a while back?
Yeah.
We may have to revisit
that.
Yes.
But as you said, Trey, it's just testing, so we have a whole season ahead of us. Besides, Cadillac is being supplied by Ferrari, who are rumored to have a strong engine this year. So I would just worry about how much they spend on building their own engines. That is true.
I mean, it costs tens of millions already to build a single F1 engine for a single car, and they are probably investing up to $100 million for Cadillac branding, to follow the regulations, where they're going to get their parts, because even though they're based literally the city below where the Haas facility is, they're in Charlotte, Haas is in Kannapolis, they're still going to have very different kind of, a different kind of way how to function,
Definitely. Yep.
But yeah, this has been a very, very fun episode
Yes,
with you
it
guys.
Indeed.
Thank you so much to Wilson. I will attach some of his social media pages in the description below for providing me all the sources for the Daytona 500. And we forgot our little Formula One booklets, but we will have them in probably the next episode or two, so we can wrap up our little predictions.
Yeah, you don't forget we didn't forget about bingo. Yeah, we got to finish those.
Yeah.
Still working on it. Don't
But
worry.
yeah, that is the Slipstream. Make sure you subscribe to us here on YouTube, catch us on Spotify, follow our Instagram page, and with that, I am Trey,
I'm Ash.
I'm Sachet.
and we will see you next time. Peace out.
Peace out.
Bye.